Good day to members of the media and the listening public. Bermuda's economy demonstrated strong economic performance last year. The 2024 Annual Gross Domestic Product report from the Department of Statistics confirmed that Bermuda's economy continued to expand in 2024, growing by 1.9% in real terms to reach $7.1 billion, marking 4 consecutive years of economic growth and expansion. The continued growth trajectory is a positive and stabilizing development. Importantly, 12 of the 19 industrial groups contributed to this increase in value added, demonstrating broad-based resilience across much of the economy. Bermuda's economy increased by 6.9% in nominal terms in 2024. At current purchaser prices, the GDP per capita rose to $143,878 at the end of 2024. This compares to a GDP per capita of $134,450 in 2023. Bermuda's economic growth in absolute terms was led by international business activities, which grew by 48.5 million. This industry, which had an historic 5,040 jobs filled in 2024, was the largest contributor to GDP at 29.3% of total GDP. Businesses engaged in reinsurance, insurance management, and portfolio advisory experiences increased in value added. The information and communications industry experienced the second largest increase in value added, rising 16.4% or by 25.1 million, driven primarily by growth in telecommunications services. The human health and social work industry also recorded strong performance, increasing 16.3% or $21.5 million, with notable growth in private health services and continued expansion in social work activities. Construction and quarrying was another positive contributor, rising 8.8% or by 21.1 million due to increased construction projects activity throughout the year. The following industries also demonstrated positive economic performance. Administrative and support services increased 12.3% or by $16.8 million. Professional, scientific, and technical activities increased by 3.5% or $13.7 million. Transportation and storage expanded 5.9% or $6.9 million. Accommodations and food services recorded a moderate increase of 0.3% or $0.7 million. Other sectors experiencing modest growth included arts, entertainment, and recreation, other service activities, real estate activities, and activities of households as employers. The following sectors contracted during the year. The wholesale and retail trade industry declined 3.4% or by $10.5 million. The financial and insurance activities decreased 1.1% or $10.1 million. Education fell by 3.2% or $3.9 million. Small declines were also observed in agriculture, forestry and fishing, manufacturing, electricity, water supply and waste management, and public administration. Overall, the GDP report on economic activity for 2024 indicates that Bermuda's economy continues to grow, supported by strong, diversified performance in key industries. Local business activity represented 67% of the total growth recorded in 2024, while international business represented 37%. The continued expansion across most industries demonstrates the underlying strength, resilience, and adaptability of Bermuda's economy. The Economic Development Strategy 2023 to 27 outlines the economic priorities that will drive the initiative required for a prosperous economy moving forward. For more information, please review the 2024 Annual Gross Domestic Product Report available at the Department of Statistics online at gov.bm. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. At this time, we welcome questions from members of the media.
Thank you, Minister Hayward. And just looking at that as before being able to actually have a good look at the final report, you say that overall annual GDP report on economic activity for 2024 indicates that Bermuda's economy continues to grow, but we're seeing again international business being bigger and bigger part of our economy, and some declines in wholesale retail industry, financial insurance, a little bit of a decline there in education. I'm just wondering, from your perspective, not just taking 1 year, but say the last decade, is our economy growing together, or is our economy growing apart? Is there things like international business that is growing substantially, exponentially, and other parts of the economy that are struggling to keep up with overall growth and inflation, things like that?
So as reported, 12 of the 19 industrial sections actually increased, which means that we do have diversified growth. When I looked at the numbers, the vast majority of the growth comes from the local economy and not international business, even though that international business was the single largest growth from a sector standpoint. If you look at the local economy, 67% of the growth comes from our local economy. It means that we do have diversified growth in our economy, because we do have 11 other sectors outside of international business which actually grew. So I don't see, according to the numbers, where the international business is now a greater portion of GDP, is relatively static. Last year it was at 29.1%. This year is at 29.3%. So that's not a significant change as it pertains to the proportion of our economy that international business represents.
Okay. And when it comes to looking at GDP numbers, when we look at other parts of the world, and what would you say in terms of comparing to GDP in other parts of the world? Last year, United States grew by 2.8, but the Euro area only grew by 0.9%. And it's not apples for apples. We're a tiny nation, a tiny community compared to huge countries. How does that work when Bermudians look outside?
Yes, definitely. When we looked at the OECD report for developed economies, they projected that developed economies on average grew by roughly around 1.8, 1.9%, and Bermuda is consistent and in line with that. And so we're pleased with the performance. We've had 4 consecutive years of economic growth. We've had large growth periods, 4.8, 6.3, 4.3, so 1.9 is continuing that momentum. And we're continuing that momentum knowing that we have, moving into 2025, where we anticipate greater levels of economic activity, and then we have a prosperous 2026 that we're looking forward to with the opening of from our Southampton hotel, which obviously is going to be an economic hub amongst itself. And so we do have an optimistic outlook on the future of the Bermudian economy.
Okay. And you say an optimistic outlook. When you look at the GDP figures and looking back over the last few years, what are the concerns, the things that you may think we need to focus on, or things that you already are focusing on?
Yeah, there is no secret that I want to see greater levels of agriculture and fisheries activity in Bermuda. That sector, we certainly can't have a contracting agricultural and fisheries sector that is not sustainable for our overall economy. We would like to see greater levels of performance in manufacturing as well. That's areas in which we can grow. We do see a rebound now in accommodation and food services, and that's only going to get better, as well as certainly as we moved into a digital economy standpoint, it is pleasing to see that information and communication technology, that sector, is actually the second largest driver within our economy. We had one of our top 3 sectors, which is finance and insurance activities, actually abate a bit in 2024. We certainly don't want one of our top 3 sectors contracting. And so if we would have had greater levels of economic activity or economic expansion in that particular sector, our numbers would be much more improved. We still are struggling with overall inflationary pressure, and that's why you see the gap between nominal and real. And so if we can reduce some of that business inflation, we're going to see greater levels of economic activity. But I think we are poised to continue growth.
Okay. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you.
Afternoon, Minister.
Good afternoon.
So with the overall GDP increase by 1.9%, was that about what the ministry was expecting, or greater or less than the increase that the ministry was expecting?
We did look at the estimates that the Ministry of Finance put out. We exceeded the Ministry of Finance's estimates from a nominal standpoint. From a real standpoint, we had to see deflationary pressures. We could not adequately predict what that level of inflation would be, but now we do now have a sound measure on some of those inflationary pressures, whether it be wage inflation, or just the inputs of doing business. And so it does give us now a focus on things that we have to look out for. But as articulated, we are progressing directly in alignment with other advanced economists.
And you noted that the wholesale and retail trade industry declined by 3.4%. What do you attribute that to? Do you attribute that to a slight decline in population, or something else?
So the report actually indicates that wholesale trade actually declined. Was the main contributor to that decrease. And then when we look at the wholesale of fuel and foods, beverages and tobacco, and then we saw a general decline in retail as well. And so generally, it means that we need to do more to support that particular sector. I did have a meeting with the Chamber of Commerce yesterday as to how we can have meaningful conversation as to how we can improve our retail sector in Bermuda. But that is a sector that has remained relatively static for a period of time. It is an important sector for the Bermudian economy because it employs a vast amount of Bermudians in our economy, and so that's something that we will focus our energy on moving forward.
And being that the 2025 calendar year is almost over, can you make some predictions about what this year might look like in terms of the GDP?
But before the end of the year, I'm anticipating getting from the Department of Statistics the second quarter 2025 expenditure approach GDP. That will give us a estimation as to how we've progressed over the first 6 months of the year, and then from that you can make an estimate how we'll probably trend to the back end of the year. But I'll await those numbers, and then I'll come and publicly put those numbers in the public domain so that everybody's aware of what our half-year economic performance actually has been.
All right. Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is the final question, Minister. Do you have any closing remarks you would like to share with the people of Bermuda?
Most definitely. The expansion of our economy is a positive thing. What we do see is diversified expansion with 12 of the 19 industrial sectors actually driven. I will come before the public and share all the great work that we've done as it pertains to our economic development strategy and the work that we've done to diversify our economy, keep our economy strong, keep it resilient, keep increasing jobs for the people of Bermuda, and keep increasing opportunities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That concludes the press conference. Thank you all for joining us, and have a great day.